This is definitely the debate because the show hasn't even started and Phil Babb is shaking his head, chuckling at me because he thinks Spurs are unlikely to win the FA Cup. You're not having it, are you?
I just think there's other teams that are going to win it. That's all. I think Mourinho, he's got a proven track record, as we know, and it would just be his luck to get that job. It's probably not his remit. I would have imagined that getting into the top four was, but you could see him possibly coming away with the domestic cup.
I mean, he says he knows he's got a really hard job on his hands. The Tottenham are in something of a transition stage. But the importance of a trophy at Spurs, I run the risk of being criticised here, but it's probably more so than any other club. It really is a millstone around their neck, a lack of trophies won. What sort of statement would it be? And why not? Perhaps he would, at other clubs, he maybe target the FA Cup far, far less. But on this occasion, why not have a go?
Yeah, I think he has to, but you have to look at what he's been saying in the press recently about, obviously, the injuries to the squad, what he's got to work with. Is he going to be able to bring anyone in the January transfer window as well? So I wouldn't say he's making excuses, but he's been quite pragmatic about the real job he's got. I just feel there's better teams out there, and I would probably say Pep probably wants to get this domestic trophy as well. Don't think Man City are going to win the Premier League title this year. Can't see them winning the Champions League either. So I think if he can come away with the League Cup and the FA Cup, that's not a bad haul. Runners up to Liverpool in the Premier League. They'll have to take it this season.
But Sam, if Spurs are some way off top four, should he switch his target?
Absolutely. I think that he's known for winning or able to win a trophy, but I agree with Phil in many ways. But then we look at last year and Watford got to the final. You know, and nobody expected that from the start, and that's what can happen in the FA Cup. And I think that if the draw is kind to you, which it can be, and that can help you get there, then I think he'll go all the way and try and get there and try and win it. But I'd say, as Phil said, that Manchester City, it'll be high on Pep's agenda this year because even himself has said the title is over. But then there's still the Champions League for Man City. That would be their big priority, I think, now.
Southampton away next for Spurs. All of a sudden, that's not as a friendlier fixture. When you look at the league form of the two sides, Southampton definitely got the upper hand.
Well, you've got one of those players that saves you as a manager when you're in difficulty, and that's Danny Ings. And I think that his goal-scoring ability has really shone through. And I think he's finally, at long last, overcome those horrendous injuries he's received at Liverpool, because he was that goal-scorer at Burnley. That's why Brendan bought him, and now he's proven to be that goal scorer again, as was Jermaine Defoe for me at Sunderland. He got 18 the year that I saved Sunderland, and Danny Ings is well on the way to probably achieving that for Southampton. And this Christmas period, he's been rattling the goals in every single game, and when the games come so fast, he gets even more recognition for what he's doing, because Southampton have gone from in the bottom three to, you know, not totally out of trouble, but in a very strong position with 28 points.
It was confidence. His performance is spreading throughout the team, Sam, isn't it? That's
Absolutely.
the thing. From them knowing that they've actually got a goal scorer, which has been their problem for the past 2 or 3 seasons, now they've got someone they can rely on him. They know they can always stay in a game. Other players are coming out their shells as well, and their confidence is showing. So I can see them just ratcheting it up quite a few more wins.
Just staying with the FA Cup, should we have been having replays tonight?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I would say, first off, in an ever-changing football landscape, why change the oldest cup competition in the world? Why look to do something different? I think the fact that the minnows get an opportunity to, you know, David and Goliath type scenario and beat the big boys, take it back to their home ground, get it packed, get revenues that can sustain these clubs for many, many years. I don't see it as a bad thing. I know we want fast action, we want results now, but I think some things are sacred. And I think at this stage, give the minnows a chance.
I agree, and I think that they could do away with extra time if it's still there and go straight to penalties. That would help, but because every single team plays in the FA Cup in this country that's registered is why it needs to stay like it is. I know the Carabao Cup have changed because that's only Football League teams, but the FA Cup is every single team and I think it should stay the way it is. And they've adjusted by playing midweek games now in the FA Cup rather than the Saturday, so they've adjusted to the Premier League, and it can't just all be about the Premier League, Jeff.
No,
it can't just be about them. They put the pressure on, I know. And I know that they are under tremendous pressure with the amount of games, particularly at the top, that the players have to play. But the FA Cup, when all said and done, is the FA Cup and needs to stay traditionally like it is. Slight adjustment by playing in midweek would, I think, maybe affect some of the crowds that they're going to get in the FA Cup until we get to the latter stages.
What about if in the earlier rounds, say from the third round onwards, when the Premier League, or maybe the Championship too, the lower division side automatically plays at home? Do away with replays, so they still get their payday, still the romance of the Cup, but lower division side always plays at home.
But their payday could be played away from home, couldn't it?
Of course.
You know what I mean? Playing at Tottenham,
Anfield,
you know, what Middlesbrough, who'll be financially struggling, I think, now, you know, after getting into the Premier League and slipping out again on the contracts and the wage of play, will be very grateful of the revenue they've got on Tottenham away in the replay and on TV.
And look, I've seen...
let them have the opportunity. You can have the tie, it's up to you. Do you want it home or away?
We've all seen many a lower league club chairman celebrate when his side concedes a late equaliser, haven't we?
Because we've got a replay.
And we've also seen them absolutely gutted when somebody gets the winner.
That's right.
But you see, it can be a financial lifeline, and it is such a fantastic competition. It has a unique pedigree, but as we know of late, there's just too much football being played. Everybody has got to give something somewhere. The various stakeholders. It just seems an obvious place to start.
I don't know whether it's just me, but it seems to be the greatest competition throughout all the leagues in the world. All in Spain, Italy, the Cup doesn't seem to hold as big a value as the FA Cup does for me. I might be wrong because I'm British, who knows, but that's what it seems to be like for me, like you mean, and played at Wembley. But, you know, somewhere along the line, probably something may well have to give. Because they've fitted more games in the Champions League. They've had to stop that this year again, haven't they? They wanted to increase that. They've fitted more games in the Euro Championships because they want to make more teams into that and more money again. And players just can't cope. Their bodies just won't take it. And that's one of the biggest problems a modern day player is going to have today. And we can see again, Christmas period, the amount of injuries that teams have picked up yet again. Massive amounts of injuries across the board.
Which is why I'm surprised you both didn't jump on my idea.
Because it's the FA Cup. I mean, you know, who doesn't want to go to the FA Cup final? I've sacrificed the FA Cup to stay in the Premier League at Bolton and I've sacrificed. When I ask the owners, what do you want me to do? And they say stay in the league. I say okay then. Now you must know that means that there's a sacrifice going to be made somewhere. That when it comes to the FA Cup, we're going to have to play and use the squad that's available and not play the strongest team, unless we're going to be picking one of the big boys. Then you wouldn't put your weaker side out. Perhaps then you'd put the strongest side out and hope you can get away with it. But you get crucial injuries in this period of time, as we can see with struggling Eddie, Sean Dyche, Burnley. They're on a real steep slope going downwards. You know what I mean? So, you know, the Premier League is the priority for every manager to stay in it before the FA Cup. Sadly, it's sad, but that's the truth.
Well, talking of fixture congestion, it's not a replay, but after the game was called off tonight for Watford, they now play Saturday lunchtime. They play Spurs. Tuesday, they have got Villa, and then they've got Tranmere on Thursday, 48 hours later.
Tough, without a shadow of a doubt.
He'd have to go and do a little bit wide. If he's got the squad injuries back, he'll have to try and do what Jurgen's done at Liverpool, use the full strength and depth.
And that's why
use some of his under-23s and say, you know, there you go, you know, show me what you can do.
His priority now still is the Premier League. The run that they're on, the momentum that they're trying to gain.
Absolutely, I get that. But does that not add to the argument for not having replays?
Yes and no, but you could say, well, why have you got 23-man squads? Why do you have under-23 squads? Why do you have under-19s, under-21s? this is an opportunity to blood the youngsters through. And we harp on about bringing the youth through, and therefore they get an opportunity now.
But nobody wants to see youth come into the team when they say, why are we not blooding youth? When you get criticised for it. So you can't have your cake and eat it. You get criticised for not playing them, and then when you play them, you get criticised as well. I'll give you an example. It was at semi-final of the Carabao Cup, now it's called, at West Ham, Man City away. And on the Saturday in the FA Cup, we're playing Nottingham Forest away. So I played the under-23s. Just got slaughtered for it. Got beat 3-1, I think it was, 3-0. And he got lambasted about the fact that... So we put the under-23s in and he got slaughtered for it anyway. And we still went to Man City and got beat 6-0 anyway. So it was a bad week. But, you know, whichever way you are as a manager, whichever way, whether you don't play him, why doesn't he play him? When you do play him, you get slaughtered anyway. And that's the game. With, you know, that's where we are. We're embedded in wanting to criticise more than praise in our country, unfortunately.
I find it hard to reconcile the feelings, your feelings, which I echo, about it being the greatest cup competition in the world, the oldest, the most prestigious, when it isn't. You've not got teams doing their best to win it, when they're putting out weakened teams, because their priorities lie elsewhere.
But they don't put weakened teams out later on, do they, when they get closer to the final? In both cup competitions, it's always the strongest team that'll come out then more often than not.
Were you surprised to see Eriksen starting for Spurs tonight?
I was surprised to see Eriksen because I think he's struggled badly mentally with his own form because of his contract situation, and I think that everybody would have benefited had they sold him before the start of this season.
I mean,
Tottenham to try and get their maximum amount of money, because it's only going to decrease now if they try and sell. And he may well have now done a contract anyway and said, no, I'm staying like, you know, Ramsey did at Arsenal. I've
signed a pre-contract.
Thank you very much. But I do think he could have tried a lot harder than he's tried.
It's an interesting one. The way when he got substituted at the weekend, he took his shirt off, he gave it something in the crowd, and he was waving. And we've seen that over the years. When you give that wave, sort of in a transfer window, you're gone. So I wouldn't be surprised if.
Well, does that make it more surprising? Let's say, I mean, the talk is Inter and it's getting closer. We don't know how close that is or isn't. But if that was close, is it not even a risk to play him? A physical risk to play him? If he wants away...
Well, he's not a physical player, and I think he's got the speed of thought.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, of course, I understand that, but it's an interesting one. He's still in the shop window, I guess. You play him, see what he can do. Can he create a bit of magic? Took a free kick tonight. Normal Eriksen sort of range 22 yards out, and he ballooned it over the stand.
22
kind of
yards
thing.
over.
So, as I agree with Sam, he's not himself. There's been a distraction, probably for well over a season. He's been affected, and he's been such an instrumental part. You know, the conductor of Tottenham over the past couple of seasons.
I think what's happened with Tottenham is this: the too many players have had contractual difficulties. They're on the crest of doing something brilliant, on the crest of challenging to be in the top two, or actually win the league, or in the Champions League. And then there's these underlining differences about players' contracts and the fact that negotiation seems to go on too long and they don't seem to sign that contract and the players hangs out. And that has a very big disrupting attitude for the manager in the dressing room, because the player will then begin to switch off. And is that why we've seen the demise of Tottenham Hotspur? Why has it crumbled so badly? I mean, they were outstanding. I mean, the way the team played for each other, the comebacks that they made, getting through to the final, was absolutely brilliant to watch. And now they just sometimes look like an average side.
Well, if you think about it, over the past 5 years in Jurgen Klopp's sort of tenure at Liverpool, you could say that Spurs have outperformed them. A couple of thirds, seconds. You know, Liverpool have a couple of obviously runners-up last season, but a couple of fourths. So Spurs have been probably the better performers. And what we've not seen is the development of that squad, you know, the fine-tuning of the personnel, while you've seen Liverpool go, OK, season on season, we need to refine this team to get to that level. Spurs just haven't done it.
And we all know that a player has to be signed and re-signed with 2 years left on his contract. Otherwise, you run into great danger of him seeing his contract out now. And that Liverpool, Man City do it all the time. Tottenham don't seem to be able to clinch those deals, and that's why I think you got disruption.
I thought it was, I don't think there's any other word for it, I thought it was really sad at the weekend that there were sections of the Tottenham faithful booing Christian Eriksen.
Fans are like that though, aren't they? They go from hero to zero so quickly in
Fans are
football.
fully entitled to voice their opinion, but I just thought we'd say he's been a terrific player for them. Low maintenance. OK, he's not on top form right now.
But that's because of the contract situation. And you could almost say, I don't think he has down tools, but he has been distracted, probably wanted to go in summer or last season. It's not happened. So he goes about his business and as professional as he can be. But his performances, no goals, no assists, they're flat. And that's what is peeing off the fans. And that's what they're not happy with.